Greetings, New Hammer, Middle Hammer, and Old Hammer folks alike. I am OldGrumpyWolf, aka Lennon Midnight, and welcome to the Minibar Podcast. I'll be serving you up lots of awesome painting nerdiness, talking to other painters from around the web. And today at the bar, we have with us PeterRidleyBrowne, aka Peter.
Hello.
Hey, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, beforehand we were talking about how miserable we both are during summer because of the heat right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But
it's really hot, man.
with you guys over in the UK, man, I feel bad. You guys don't have central AC like we do here in Vegas.
No, not at all. No, it's really hot, man. It's like a sauna in here.
Yeah, what I was going to mention when we were just chatting briefly at the start was, when my AC went out, like I didn't have AC in the house for about a day and a half, dude. It was so hot in here. Like the entire house I think when they fixed the AC, it was like close to 100 degrees in my house.
Yeah, it's like that every day summer here, man. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
So with that being said, whereabouts in the world are you?
So I'm in Reading, UK. I'm in the UK, England, just outside of Reading, actually, a little town called Wokingham. It's about half an hour, no, not half an hour, 30 miles to London, sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
About an hour's drive to get into London, so it's not too far from there.
Oh, okay. So I'm judging by your accent, I'm assuming you were born in the UK.
Oh yeah. Born and raised, still live in the same town.
Oh, nice. I was born and raised here in Vegas, so I never really wanted to leave.
No, yeah.
I ended up touring with I was the lead singer and producer of my band. It was just something my best friend and I did, and toured up and down the West Coast. And I was always thankful to come back to Vegas because we don't have a lot of stuff here, but we have a little bit of everything. And going to places like LA and Phoenix and stuff like that, it was just. Ugh, it was too big.
Yeah.
So to get the show started, the first question that I always ask my guest is, what got you into the hobby in miniature painting?
My brother. It was my brother. 9 years. I think I was about 9 years old. Mm-hmm. My brother got a Hero Quest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Hero Quest, and I think we had Space Hulk as well. But we played so much of that game, loved it, and then got into 40k second edition.
You're as old as I am.
Yeah, man, I'm 42, so.
Oh, okay, I got a year on you.
It's like 30 odd years in the hobby. 40k second edition, had Ultramarines Force. And then kind of by the time third edition came out, kind of left the hobby then.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Got really into like riding BMX and stuff. Mm-hmm. Basically was missing for the entirety of like third edition.
Yeah, I've done the same here.
And just, teenage years. And then sort of 2003, 2004, picked it up again. Mm-hmm. So it would have been 4th edition by then. Yeah. 40k. And then had, what army did I have? Oh, I started Space Marines again, but I had my own chapter. I just made up my own chapter. Mm-hmm. And then had a Death Guard army as well. And then the kind of gaming side kind of faded away. Yeah. And I started getting more into the painting was more what I enjoyed anyway. So I kind of just started painting single minis. Mm-hmm. And just probably for about 4 or 5 years just did that. And then decided I wanted to do Golden Demon. So started Golden Demons 2010. Oh, okay. And that was back when it was still in the UK, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's been in the UK since like the 80s. Yeah. Well, I heard recently like they moved it over to Germany. Yeah. So the last two have been Germany, Hoping it comes back to the UK, but it doesn't look like it's going to anytime soon.
Yeah.
But one day, hopefully. But there are other contests and stuff. So, so I did the Golden Demon thing from like 2010 to 2020. I was going to enter, but obviously COVID happened, so it got cancelled. So just basically did the whole competition, Golden Demon painting. Managed to win 2, so
nice.
Pretty happy. Gold and a bronze for both the vehicle category, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's killer. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. But since then, I've just been kind of just doing my own thing, just painting for fun.
Yeah.
I haven't done any contests since 2019, so it's just, it's just hobby fun, basically. That's all it is. Yeah.
No, I'm envious that you actually went and did Golden Demon. My gal and I, we were talking. Mm-hmm. We're gonna go to a Adepticon in 26, so I can compete. Yeah,
do it definitely.
Yeah. Well, I did that Blood Angel display. I did it specifically for Adepticon. So the kind of crap thing about Golden Demon here in the U.S. is that it used to be they used to have 2 of them, I believe. There was one. I think there was one in Maryland, I believe, and then there was one here on the West Coast in Los Angeles. And they stopped that ages ago. Like I much like you, I got out of it in like third edition. I never really played, but third edition was like, I was late 90s. I was a junior and senior in high school, and life was changing for me, and I kind of stopped painting my like senior year of high school. And after I got out, and then a couple years later, I got back into it. But in the time I was out of it, they were still hosting in LA, and then all of a sudden when I came back this time around, it was like, nope, no longer in Maryland, no longer in LA. It's in I forgot where it's. I want to say Milwaukee or something like that. It's it's kind of in the middle of the country.
Yeah. But like for you to travel, the distances are massive compared to. I mean, from where I am, for me to get to when Golden Demon was in the UK, to get from where I am to, it used to be Birmingham. It's like an hour and a half drive, so it's nothing.
Now,
for us, it's like 2.5 hours.
For us, it's a plane trip and a hotel.
A plane trip, yeah. It's a lot of traveling. So
I think Games Workshop was smart about it. They moved it to Vegas.
Yeah, maybe they will. Maybe they will next year. I mean, they seem to be moving it around in the US, which is good. So,
I don't know where it was like before now. I don't know where it was. If anybody watching wants to leave a comment about it, let me know. But it'd be killer if they moved it here to Vegas, and we'd have Las Vegas Open and Games Day or the Adepticon. And
so will it be your first time entering Golden Demon?
Yeah. I've dreamed of doing it since I was a kid, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, do it, man. I mean, my first Golden Demon, I kind of went, and it's the wrong thing to do, is to go with expectations.
I have none.
Yeah, well, I kind of made the mistake, like, everybody works really hard on what they're entering. Mm-hmm. So, I went with an expectation that not to win something, but, to do well. And it doesn't really work like that, because all the hard work is done before, if you're entering a sports contest, you got to perform on the day.
Yeah.
It's you can't have that mindset. You go there, once you hand your entry in, it's done.
Yeah.
What happens. Just relax, enjoy the day, talk to people. That's the best thing about Golden Demon, is just talking to people.
Yeah. Well, we've got Las Vegas Open here in Vegas, and it's a similar type of thing. And this year we're having 2 of them in the single year, because the original location it was in January traditionally, and that venue's gotten weird. It's the Rio Hotel here in town. They've gotten weird about renting out their convention space. So and like my gal, she runs like multi-million-dollar events, like puts on big productions and stuff.
Okay.
And
Cool.
she was trying to do something at the Rio, and she'd done something. It was for our old high school. She did the gala at the Rio for like 8 years, and then she moved the venue for a couple of years because Rio started getting weird. She tried to go back as like an emergency venue this year, and they're like, no, we don't feel like it, even though it's an insanely expensive event. And the same thing happened with LVO. They just Rio got weird with LVO, and LVO was like, all right, fine, we're out of here, and they went and found another location here in town. So the only spot they could get was October. So we've got 2 of those this year, but LVO is similar to Games Day or Adepticon, where it's mainly gaming, but there's a local museum for miniature painting here in town, and they host a painting competition, and it's styled it's styled very similar to Adepticon, where it's like you get little coins for where you play. So like I got a bronze for my Ulrich Slayer that I entered. But talking of Games Day, or I'm sorry, of Adepticon, I have no expectations. If I walk away with a pin, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of pace the cabinets. Yeah. Keep looking at your entry. It's not good, man.
Well, and the one big thing that I'm looking forward to is like seeing everyone from around the country's models. Just seeing like the different levels of painting, the different ideas, the different approaches. There was a guy over in the UK who went through and filmed every single miniature in the Games Day case, and I mean it was almost an hour-long video, but I mean he took like really good shots and really did close-ups and stuff like that, and it was so cool to see all this stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in person.
Yeah, it's one thing to see photos, but to see them like actually to hold, not hold them, but in the cabinets, in the flesh.
Yeah, like a foot away from your face.
It's I always say something is photos that you post. There's always something that's lost in the photo, probably because it's 2-dimensional.
Yeah. Well, and it's also I've noticed too. Like there was a few people who have like I think you might have seen the diorama that somebody did. I think it was at Adepticon last year. It was like this like skeleton guy, like a skeleton king sitting in the chair or in this throne that was like it was all like almost monochromatic, and it was all black and white. But lighting plays a huge role because I saw it in person.
Oh yeah,
and the lighting on it was not flattering. It was very unflattering. So what you saw photographed at Adepticon versus what you saw in person were 2 completely different things.
Yeah, that's always the case. I mean, sometimes like Golden Demons, the lighting in the cabinets historically has not been fantastic. Yeah, but it depends on the venue as well. Like sometimes the venue's got fantastic lighting. So that helps, but yeah, sometimes. I mean, Golden Demon 2013 was in the NIA in Birmingham, and it was like an underground kind of room, and it was so dark in there, man. It was so dingy, but yeah, it was still good.
Oh, did you
bronze in vehicle? So
did you see Rogue Hobby's video that she did on Armies on Parade that she judged?
Nope.
Oh, it was at Adepticon here, I believe. And dude, it was like it's a totally different kind of competition for painting, but some of the entries for the Armies on Parade, they were so unique, and you've got to watch the video. If I remember after the podcast, I'll send you a link to the video. Some of the miniatures aren't actually physically mounted on the dioramas. It's just it's a display for your army that you're playing with.
Army, yeah.
And some of these people, I mean, like 2-story, 3-story high, like God. I mean, one of the displays was like 6 feet tall. So if I remember, I'll send you the video. If not, just check it out on Louise's channel. It's just so impressive. But the one comment, and we'll move along. But the one thing that like I think Games Workshop is doing that is really cool is that they came up with different pins now. So you have, I think you have notable, commended, and then finalist. Finalist goes into actual judging for competition, so first, second, and thirds. But if I walk away with like a notable or a commended, like that will just completely make my painting life that I spent 30 years doing. It's like, oh, I actually got something. I feel special.
So it used to be the case that you basically had like a first cut, and you got a finalist. You get a final. It used to be a pin. You get a finalist pin. If you got a finalist pin, then you knew the judges were going to look at your stuff.
Yeah.
Look at your work. They'd take them on the table under the lights, get a proper look at everything. So I got a ton of pins.
Kind of jealous over here.
Yeah.
So
I did 10 years, So
moving on with it all. What did you get into the hobby because of painting or because of gaming?
Gaming.
Okay.
It was like I said, my brother with the Space Hulk and Hero Quest, and then I had friends at school that had, armies and stuff, and actually a neighbour as well. So it just happened, a guy moved in next door and just happened to have an Eldar army. So
nice.
Yeah, perfect. So it was always gaming up until even when I came back to the hobby for the first kind of 5 years. And then I just decided to concentrate on the painting after that. I started to enjoy the painting more. Yeah, I think as I got better at painting, I started to enjoy, because it's kind of frustrating. You're not getting the results you want. Yeah, and kind of with painting armies, it's kind of I'm a Space Marine fanboy, so I'm always either Chaos Marines or normal Space Marines. So when you're painting hundreds of Space Marines for 5 years over and over, you start to think, oh, maybe this, Age of Sigmar mini, I'll paint that, and then you pick up something else, and you kind of, and you can, if you just work on one mini and take your time on it, you get better results anyway. So that's basically what I do. So.
Yeah, there's the when I go to paint night here in town on Mondays, some of the newer guys are like, "Oh, dude, that's really cool." I'll bring in some miniatures to show to friends that are, "Oh, that's really cool. Are you doing a whole army?" Hell no.
No way.
And
I couldn't imagine doing an army now.
I get how some of the newer kids, it's the concept of painting one or two of a miniature or of a race or whatever, and then moving on to a different thing is a little strange, but no, I just, in my older years now, I just paint what I like. And if something, piques my interest that I have sitting around that needs to be painted, I'll go paint it. I don't care what it is. I just got Rachel from Bell Delore Studios. She just sent me a care package. I've got I haven't even gone through the whole thing yet, but she, I don't know if you went through my miniatures, but I have this little guy, the Frog Pope, that I painted up. She sculpted him.
Yeah, cool.
And
I see that.
She was on the show 4 or 5 episodes ago. Just talking to her was great, because hearing the way she sculpts, she actually sculpts all her stuff in virtual reality. So she has the headset and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know you could do that. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, we were talking, and I want to help get her miniatures more well known. And so I'm gonna probably half of what she sent me, I'm gonna paint up and send back to her, and then keep the other stuff there. But there was one she sculpted up. It looks like it's very much Xenomorph inspired. And we were talking about it on the show, and I was digging through the box, and I pulled it out. I was like, yes. So I think I'm gonna keep that one. Yeah, it's more or less, my older age now. It's just, I'm going to paint what makes me happy. I'm not painting an army. I might do a display of 5 miniatures of the same, chapter or something like that. But I don't play, so I'm like, I'm not painting up a whole army. Now, actually, I lie. I want to finish off my Blood Angel squad of Terminators, so that way I can play a game of Space Hulk with 2 complete squads of painted Terminators. But cool. we all know how Space Hulk goes in your older years. You get 2 guys together, and then you start hooping and hollering, and everybody comes over and starts watching, and then the beers come out, and it just gets louder and louder and louder.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I play the odd game of Space Hulk still now, but mostly just with my son or my brother or something.
Oh, somebody was trying to convince me that Boarding Party was the new Space Hulk. I was like,
No.
I was like, have you ever played Space Hulk? He's like, no. I'm like, that's why I'm disagreeing with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping they're releasing a new one.
My fingers are crossed too.
11 years now? 2014, I think, was the last one. So
yeah.
and we've got the new Terminators as well. So hopefully, sometime soon, maybe.
My only thing with Space Hulk is like if they re-release it, do not screw the rules up and make it overly complex. The game is meant to be simple. It's meant to it's meant to be stacked against the Space Marines. Period.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Basically, yeah.
But so excuse me. So you got into it because of gaming, but as you got more into painting, especially in modern times. What kind of paints do you use?
I have basically bits from every range. I've got, well, saying that, mostly Citadel probably. But I see, like, if I want a colour, I will go out and buy from three different ranges.
Yeah.
To see what works best for me, you know, because a good example is I got the scale color black, which is like really super matte black.
Yeah.
Because if I'm painting shadows or I'm trying to darken a color, I want it to be black, or I don't want like a satin finish. I don't want any reflections coming out of the shadow. I want it to be dark. So I mean that works. The Abaddon black, I've got some, but I don't use it at all because it's kind of got that kind of satiny kind of funny finish to it, which I don't like. So it's basically the Citadel range, but I've gone through and replaced the paints I don't like, basically, just to cater to myself, which is the best way of doing it. You see people on like Facebook groups and stuff saying, I'm going to throw away my whole Citadel range and I'm going to get AK, or it's like, why? Tailor it to you, you know. It's just paint it at the end of the day. Just pick what works for you. What doesn't work, just get rid of it. So,
well, you sound a lot like me in that respect. That like getting back into this, I'm really big on the behavior of certain colors, or just the colors I use.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, really important.
I've gone through like slews of different colors trying to find what works for me the best for certain colors that I like to use. And much like you, I've got a whole slew of different brands. I've got AK, I've got Citadel, I've got Vallejo, I've got Pro Acryl, I've got two thin coats, and it's just based upon what works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite lucky because like literally the other side of town, I've got there's a store called Cryptic Cabin, and they stock pretty much every range of paint you can think of.
Oh, that's cool.
I can just go in and just pick off the shelf what I want. So I'm really lucky in that respect.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying like AK stuff now that I've figured out how to use them. I really like the behavior. Like it seems like they are the most consistent line of paints in terms of behavior of the paint.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I only kind of use paints from different ranges, so I couldn't really tell you what was consistent or not, you know. So
well, I've replaced a load of my paints, not all of them, but just a good chunk of them with AK, because I'm like, oh, I want to try, you know, like see how this works in AK, see if it works better in Vallejo, or see if it works better in Pro Acryl. And every time I kind of replace the color with AK, I'm pleasantly surprised in that it works like the color from the opposite side of the spectrum that I just bought, you know, a month prior.
Right.
So yeah, it's
yeah, I've got a few army painter paints as well.
Oh yeah,
a few army painter. Yeah. I'm looking now. I'm looking at what I've got. Vallejo. I've got a few Vallejo paints. Mostly the air ones.
Oh, okay.
I use airbrush now and then, but mostly just for base coats, really. Airbrush.
Yeah, I haven't tried their air paints yet.
Yeah, well, pretty good.
I'm guessing they're a lot thinner. Well. They're a lot thinner than the normal formula.
Yeah. So they're supposed to be able to put them straight into the airbrush without thinning them down, but you still need to add thinner. You do to all paints, like. Yeah. I mean, some of the Citadel ones, I haven't got any Citadel. They did like an air range, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they've still got it.
I haven't tried any of them. you can put Citadel paint through the airbrush, but obviously you've got to thin it down.
Yeah.
A lot. The Tamiya thinner is great for Citadel paints through the airbrush. It works really well. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried the whole airbrush thing yet. I've been seeing a lot of it since I got back into all this. But with the space here in my studio, it's kind of limited. So I haven't bought like a compressor and airbrush, but I've seen some stuff that higher end painters pull off with airbrushes, and it looks really cool. Yeah,
I mean, you can almost overuse it. I think. I mean, I basically just use it for just base coating. Just because you get, the base coat is the foundation of your paint job.
Oh yeah.
So you want a good, smooth, consistent coat, and just airbrush is perfect for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen.
Plus, I don't like painting base coats.
I think if I swayed more toward, like, I don't know, the more realistic approach, I think an airbrush would be good, because you could base coat and then you could highlight up, but you can get that really cool zenithal thing going on very easily.
Yeah.
And the thing I've been curious about is like what it would look like with the style panel lining that I do.
Give it a try.
Yeah, I just don't want to invest, like good $300 or $400 in an airbrush setup and then just discover that I just never use it.
Yeah, I mean, I had kind of had the same mentality. Like I mean, my airbrush was like £50-60. So I don't know what that is in dollars, but like,
about $100.
Yeah. And the compressor I got off a friend, so it cost me nothing. So
oh, I'm sorry, no, about about $80. There we go.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mid-range, but my intention was to use it just for base coating, basically. So yeah, I'm not a fan of, especially Space Marines, brush painting the entire mini. In the base coat is. Especially armies, if you're painting armies, to get an airbrush.
Oh, I could see how that would be majorly beneficial on doing armies.
Yeah.
I'm still big on like the whole brush approach from my base coats. Just like 2 or 3 really watered down, thinned out coats of whatever whatever I'm doing. Like Blood Angels, I'm going to paint differently to Space Wolves. So there's the base coat is going to be a slightly different approach.
Yeah. Do you always use the same? Like primer, like black primer?
Oh, I just use Citadel, whatever their white primer is now.
Oh, the white one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't used black primer I haven't used black primer since the 90s when Citadel released the old spray cans that they used to have, like Chaos Black, Blood Red,
Chaos Black,
Ultramarine Blue, White, and
I forgot what the other one was. Some on the shelf.
Oh, nice.
But I don't think they'll work now, to be honest. They've been sat up there for like 15 years, so probably won't work.
I'm still a little butthurt about you remember the matte clear that they brought out in the 2000s? Well, that matte clear, it's ruined a bunch of my models because it turned yellow.
Yeah, that happens just with age.
It's specifically with that matte clear. I have stuff that I gloss coated with old Raw Partha clear coat, and it still looks like the day I sprayed it. So I was talking to somebody about, I think it was 80 Wood, and he's like, yeah, they probably just found somebody to make it cheap for them, the cheapest thing they could find, and they just brought it out. So
yeah, they probably didn't expect you to still be looking at it like 15 years later.
Yeah, pretty much. And to me, that's just a real kicker because, like Games Workshop has always kind of charged a premium for, more so in current times, but charged a premium for their modeling supplies. And, you think that with the reliability that Games Workshop has always carried with its name, that it would have been something that's, concrete and solid for 15, 20 years down the line, because I do know they realize that some of us, we keep our models that long, and display pieces, we have them set up in our house. It's like this better look nice in another 10 to 15 years.
That's it. I mean, I've got stuff in my cabinet that I've painted 20 years ago. But, a lot of it isn't varnished.
That's probably why it survived.
Yeah, so display, like stuff for Golden Demon, I typically wouldn't varnish. Just because, like, sometimes you're working with, like, really thin glazes. Mm-hmm. And when you varnish stuff, it can kind of change the transitions of colour.
Yeah.
On certain paints. So I was always a bit dubious about varnish and stuff. I know people do. I think it's AK. Is it super matte or something? Some varnish.
Knowing AK, probably.
Yeah, super matte. I know some people use that. Because if you've used washes, and you know, some of them can be kind of shiny. Mm-hmm. So it kind of dulls it down. Kind of helps to unify the whole thing. So you've not got shiny parts of the model and matte parts of the model.
Kind of the reason I always clear coated my models was to have the uniformity of the finish.
Yeah.
That, and I like to pick my models
I
up
have
and
got varnish. I've got I just use the Galleria Winsor and Newton.
Oh, okay.
If I do use it, which isn't very often.
Yeah, I got a bottle of Pro Acryl matte varnish sitting on my desk. I haven't touched. I just keep using Citadel Minotaurum. Okay, well, so with our random ramblings about clear coat and all that stuff, staying on the topic of paints, is there one or two brands of paints that you really like and prefer?
Just mostly the Citadel. Citadel and Vallejo model color is mostly what I use. Sorry.
Okay.
Moving.
Now, like, I'm curious because you were there for the same time period I was. What do you think of Citadel's like current formula versus like the 2000s formula?
Ooh, tough question. I'm liking the new ones. But I think I probably prefer the older ones, to be honest.
And after my own heart.
Yeah. Well, I still got some of the old hex pots, the really old ones. I'm just opening it with the smell.
Yeah.
Like the memory from that is, it's crazy. So, I like the new line. The contrast paints, I don't really use them very often. Mm-hmm. They don't really have much use for them. Mainly just for like kind of use them like a glaze. You know what I mean? Just to put some color back in. They're good for that, just to boost the color back up. If you've lost saturation, if you're say you're painting red armor or something, and you're adding a lighter color to that, you kind of can lose saturation sometimes, so it's good for putting saturation back in. But apart from that, I don't really use the contrast too much.
I like to water them down and adjust the opacities.
Yeah definitely. Yeah, you can thin them down. They work well for glazing sort of thing, but actually like how you're supposed to use them, flooding them in large areas and kind of for speed painting, they're just I have no use for that at all, really. So,
well, at least they've got acrylic medium now in them, so they actually harden. Whereas like the old inks that we grew up with, you got to be careful about reactivating those things.
Oh yeah,
especially blue.
Blue, yeah. I think I've still got some of that somewhere.
I think that's one of the few. So I've said this on the show before. After I bought my house that I'm in now, the room that's behind me, that's my storage room. There's two walls in there that get sun throughout the day, and I had my old paint stuff stored against one of the walls that gets constant sun. So the majority of my paint's dried up not because of air exposure, just because of the heat. And
heat, yeah.
There's a handful that are still good, and I was trying to use blue. I broke out blue ink for something and used it, and I was mixing on my palette, and I went over that blue ink, and it started reactivating. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Yeah, it does that.
But it's nice to have that acrylic medium and the contrast and the shade paints now to where like it doesn't reactivate at all. The shade paints, I think the only one I use is Agrax Earthshade. I'll mix Nolan oil in with Black Templar to take out some of the blue in it, but I don't really get the point of shade paints. I don't think they saturate nearly enough, and there's just way too much acrylic medium in them.
Yeah, and so I've had issues with them, so I tend not to use them.
Yeah, I don't like how they clog detail. That's the problem I have with them.
Yeah. I think the newer ones are slightly thinner than the older ones. But
the Nolan oil that I bought was the two shade paints I have I bought last year. So,
all right.
Yeah,
I had one that was it was Nolan oil, but it kind of had like a gloss finish.
Yeah,
which was really bizarre.
That's the one I have.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you use Vallejo. Which is it? Model color or game color?
Model color, yeah, model color. They're good, man. I've not had any issue at all with them. Like, I've been using them for probably 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
No issues at all.
Have you tried the new formula that's in the clear bottles?
No, not at all. No.
I've got I had to restock my my Vallejo model color white. I'm almost out of it, and I have the original formula, and I bought the new formula bottle. So I'm curious as to how that works. Oh, you there? Did I lose you? Hello.
You
keep flashing in and out. I think your signal's bad.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just
okay.
Got broke up for a sec.
Okay, you're back.
Ooh, what am I doing? Me and technology do not mix.
Yeah, well, your connection's kind of been in and out, but that's the first time it really hiccuped. So I'll just edit that out of the episode. It's not a big deal. Okay. So, in keeping with the painting thing again, with you painting for so long, who influenced your painting style?
Ooh. Well, I guess it might probably the same for you. I mean, the only stuff that I used to see was White Dwarf, because you didn't really. There was, when you were a kid and when I was a kid, the internet wasn't really
what it is now.
What it is now, it was just non-existent. You had White Dwarf once a month, and that's it, So all the guys that I saw in White Dwarf, Mike McVeigh and stuff, all those guys, the heavy metal style, that's, that was probably the biggest inspiration.
Yeah.
It wasn't till... really the internet going on like Cool Mini or Not, sites like that, seeing wildly different stuff from all around, it kind of changed your perspective, and there's more that can be done with miniatures rather than just that one heavy metal style.
Yeah.
So I couldn't describe my style to you now. It's hard to. It's definitely got heavy metal in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to describe your own style, I think. Yeah, it's even now like the heavy metal guys, Darren Latham, and that style is still an inspiration to me. I don't try and paint heavy metal style.
Yeah,
I've kind of done my own, changed it up and did my own thing with it, sort of thing.
That's always a good thing. Oh.
Yeah, especially with you've got, like I say, other influences, seeing stuff on Cool Mini or Not or whatever, Facebook or It used to be the case. I think that I mean, especially at Golden Demon, where you had like, you know, the US kind of had a style of painting. Spain had its own style.
You're like the third. It's funny. You're like the third person to mention the whole Spain style of painting.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
they're great painters. But now with the internet, it's kind of all kind of merged into. There are other styles, but
yeah,
in general, it's kind of become everything's kind of unified sort of thing. There's a lot of similar people. It's not so separated styles anymore, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's like one person, you know, like I've kind of noticed that like one person kind of starts something that you know gets, that I don't know, like wins something at Golden Demon, and then it just kind of starts spreading like wildfire.
Yeah.
And the cycle just kind of repeats itself. What I was hearing about Golden Demon in 24 was that non Eavy Metal staff was judging primarily, and it really shifted like the things that won or got attention. And there was like numerous bigger YouTubers that were, some of them placed, other ones didn't, and just hearing kind of the controversy over what was happening. And I guess maybe this year like Eavy Metal staff started judging again, because I didn't see any of that controversy pop up. But I don't think European Golden Demons happen yet. I know here in the States it's a little different, but they had Roman Lepat.
He was on the judging panel, so he's. Do you know it? I assume you know Roman's.
No, I'll have to look him up. I might have seen his stuff, but
yeah. So he's got. The good place is a blog he's got called Massive Voodoo. That's fantastic. But he's like really into. He's really creative with his miniatures. He does stuff in like frames, and you know, so they've added that kind of element more. It's more open to creativity now, I suppose. But then I think recently they've now changed the rules that you can't enter fully sculpted stuff. You can only enter that into, if you sculpt your own miniature, you can only enter that into open competition now.
Oh, okay. I was curious about that because at Golden Demon US, somebody like there was a lot of 3D sculpt entries, and like one of them or a couple of them like took silver and gold. And I'm sitting there, I was really confused. I was like, wait a minute, how can they enter this? This is not a Games Workshop product. This is inspired by a Games Workshop product, but they're entering in normal categories. This should go in open category.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is it's got to keep up with technology.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the same kind of controversy a couple of years back. Someone entered the single mini category and won with a background that was generated with AI. So they had like a background to their piece, and it was all AI generated. So people complained about that, and you know, it's not your work, sort of thing. I mean, going back Golden Demon years ago, you got people that sculpted their entries. They sculpted it all themselves. They painted it all themselves.
Yeah.
So. I mean, you're doing the same thing, but it's just sculpted, you know, in ZBrush, or it's not physically sculpted by hand, but you're still sculpting it. So, I mean, this is the problem. They've got to try and keep up with technology as it moves forward, especially with like the AI stuff. I mean, I've seen websites now where you can upload a photo and it will create a 3D model of your photo.
Oh. I haven't seen that yet.
And then you can turn that into a sculpt.
Oh, wow.
So that's just crazy. So literally anybody can do it.
I think it kind of, in my mind, it's a little maybe unfair that, and just with what you said, that now they're forcing it over to the open competition. But I think it was highly unfair that things were placing or taking top rank that weren't even produced by Games Workshop in a Games Workshop competition. And, you know, somebody goes out and blows it. I mean, it's one thing to go out and, you know, kit bash a complete model. Like I just put a Space Wolf together last night. Somebody challenged me to do. They're like, "Hey, can you do a modern Primaris in your painting style?" And I don't like Primaris Marines for the most part, but I have a box of Primaris Marines. I bought a box of old Firstborn Space Wolves in plastic, and I kit bashed myself together a Primaris Marine with a Mark 7 helmet and different Mark 7 components. But it's one thing to do something like that. To me, it's a whole nother where it's not even a Games Workshop product. It's just like, okay, it resembles it, but like there was a guy who took like first place gold in something, I think it was Golden Demon last year, for this orc guy that he converted. It was based upon a normal orc kit, but he changed out the weapon and a few bits and pieces here and there, but like the main model was still there, which is, to me, that's absolutely fine, because the way he did it, it actually looked like you could buy that variation of the model from Games Workshop. They mold it, they sell it in a box. That's the way it should be done. But when you got a guy who's a professional 3D sculptor making, an orc dragon rider with a completely custom, everything is just completely 3D sculpted, that it's not even Games Workshop product anymore. That's totally, it's like, no, that needs to go to open competition, period. Like open category.
Maybe that's part of the reason they're trying to level the playing field, Some people might see it as an unfair advantage. Not everyone's got access to that. But kit bashing's always been fine. It's always good. But it's kind of, like I say, it's because technology is moving so fast. I think they're having to change the rules now every year, like, because it was the no AI, and now it's your mini has to be Games Workshop, not sculpted yourself. So it's constantly, I mean, not very likely, but you could have Golden Demon with hundreds of entries that aren't even Games Workshop made products. So
there was a rule for a while that if you I think it was like, if you printed out like a 3D, it could be a Games Workshop model that you scanned in and 3D printed, and if it was discovered that you 3D printed this model, you were instantly disqualified.
Yeah.
Which in some ways is I get, like, in some ways it's okay, because like with modern Hammer stuff that's still produced is fine, but for guys like me, for guys like you that are really into the old Hammer stuff, dude, I like the technically, the first Red Gobo from Gorkamorka wasn't even Red Gobo back then. He was just a Goblin Captain. He's $150 on eBay just because of his simple popularity with modern Hammer stuff. But having to spend, you want to put 7 or 8, 9 different, old Hammer models on like a display or a diorama. You're already talking about $300 or $400 easily worth of models. And in that regard, it's like, no, I think there should be exceptions to that rule, especially, or even like Rogue Trader stuff that Games Workshop no longer has the molds for, or no longer has the rights to, because Ansel took it all when he left the company. I think he took all the rights to Rogue Trader, but stuff like that, that's worth rule bending for. But again, if you're 3D scanning, like your buddy just bought this kit and you 3D scan the whole thing because you don't want to buy it, that's a little screwed up. And actually, you were mentioning trends. There's actually one trend that I really like that I want to try on. You'll like the idea, but the whole backdrop behind the miniature thing, hand painting it or drawing it or doing it on the computer or whatever. I think that's a nifty idea. Like, I wanted to do. I was thinking about doing a display of Space Wolves, just to back up really quick. The Beaky display that I have, or the Blood Angel one that I did. My buddy Chris is like, dude, you go to Olden Demon, and what you want, or Golden Demon, and what you want to do is take that display and enter it in 30K, because Beakies are technically 30K now, and then do another display of your RTB-15 Mark 7 Space Wolves and do that in 40K.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But the whole backdrop thing, if I did the Space Wolves display, I wanted to like paint out or draw a backdrop that has looks like something from second edition, where you have the silly spiky the cactuses they made out of foam, the foam spheres with the toothpicks in them. Yeah, just paint up a backdrop that looks like it's out of like second edition.
Yeah,
But the spiky the foam ball spiky cactus is the thing that I'm like, I want to put that in there. I want to put one of those in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got to be done.
Yeah.
The thing I'm finding really hard to find at the moment is Mark 7 helmets for Marines.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't mind Primaris Marines, but I you know what I mean, I don't like the helmet design.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Had to change it. But finding them now is becoming really hard, especially on eBay. I was looking the other day and there was like practically nothing at all there. I've got a few, but I've got old minis I can pop the heads off and strip the paint, which I have been doing for my old army from years back. Mm-hmm. But they're just really hard to find.
Yeah, I kind of lucked out. I bought at LVO. There's the people that put it on, Frontline Gaming. They have a big booth there, and they go through and buy up like used and new old stock and stuff like that, and then sell it at a discount. Mm-hmm. So, like in January, I found a box of Firstborn, the old plastic Space Wolves kit, thinking I struck gold. And when I was messing around with that Primaris last night, Kit Bash, and I finally opened that box of Space Wolves, and I noticed something. I was so ticked off, dude. All the legs and the bodies were out of it. They didn't have any in there, but like everything else, all the arms, all the heads, all the bits, everything were still in the sprue. Just the legs and the torsos were missing. I'm like, I paid $48 for this. But whatever. Yeah. Fortunately, it still had a load of Mark 7 helmets in there, so I picked the one that I liked that had the wolf tail stuck on top of it, or the wolf talisman on top of it, and used that.
Cool.
So I kind of lucked out with some Mark 7 helmets. And my buddy Chris from Dork Depot, he's like, dude, I've got tons of Mark 7 helmets. You can just have them. I was like, thank you. But I'm right there with you. The whole Primaris Marine armor, I don't like the helmet.
No.
Like it looks like riot gear to me.
Yeah. It's and also like, when you see it a certain way for like 20, 30 years.
Yeah, it's just kind of how you picture
it. It's like, that's not, this doesn't look right to me.
Well, it's like when I read anything from the Black Library with, like Space Marine books, I never picture them in Primaris armor. I picture them in Beaky armor. I picture them in Mark 7 because like you just said, you see something for 20 or 30 years, that's what gets stuck in your brain, and that's what you're used to seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when I got back into this, seeing the Primaris helmets, I'm like, what the hell did they do to Space Marine helmets? That's not a Space Marine helmet.
10. Yeah. Well, someone told me they wanted to get away because of the respirator piece. Mm-hmm. Like it was kind of Darth Vader-esque. This is what I heard. So they decided basically to redesign the whole thing and make it more like, is it the Mark IV? It kind of looks more like the Mark.
I know what you're talking about. It's either Mark IV or Mark V.
Yeah. So
the longer snout with the slits in it, pre-beaky.
Yeah, the slits. Yeah, that one. It's kind of based off that, I suppose.
Well, but they're kind of going back to it though. Like if you saw the new Space Wolves, the new Space Wolf box set, they actually have Mark 7 helmets and beaky helmets in there. I'm just like, yeah, exactly. At last. Yeah, and I like how they I was talking. I can't remember what guest I was talking to about this on the show, but Primaris was the big new change to the product line for the Space Marines. Space Marines are the poster boys of 40K. And the Primaris was the big change, and now that they're going through and redoing the armies to be customized for specific chapters, they're getting more creative. And we saw this in like 2nd edition, especially also in 3rd edition and onwards. Yeah, was that when the primarily Rogue Trader was beaky based, and then they introduced the RTB-15 set with the Mark 7 armor. Yeah. And Mark 7 was the armor for 2nd edition specifically. And as Metal Mark 7 went along, they still kept Mark 6. They played with that, and they kept Mark 7 because it was the 2 armors that were specifically for 40K of that era. And now that we're getting into, you've got the first army they redid was Dark Angels, and they really went ham on like the cloaks and the whole Gothic motif. And then they redid the Blood Angels. And the Blood Angels armor, they started bringing back the whole musculature thing, like looking like the old Dante figure or Tycho figure. and kind of really having a characterized Primaris armor specifically for Blood Angels. And now that we've got Space Wolves, they're still going and evolving the armor. I like how they got rid of that stupid flare on top of the knee pad. I like that they made the leg armor look like old Beaky armor, where it was just solid the whole way down. There was no
solid piece.
There was no separate knee pad thing. So, seemingly enough, I think as time goes on, they'll just keep evolving the Primaris armor, but I think they'll still keep the. I think a lot of people really appreciate the inclusion of Beaky helmets and Mark 7 helmets, especially old hammer dudes like us. I think Games Workshop will notice and maybe start including those more. Because the Primaris helmets are dumb. So kind of going back in the list of questions here, and we were just kind of talking about it. Specifically you, I'm very curious. How do you think old Games Workshop minis from our youth compare to the new ones?
Well, the older ones, you've got the nostalgia with the older minis, but the quality nowadays is way better than it was, in my opinion, massively.
Well, I guess maybe I need to modify the question a little bit on my list, but maybe like what do you think of the design aesthetic from our youth or even third edition versus what we have now?
Well, you kind of had more the grimdark kind of vibe with the third edition stuff, didn't you? So,
yeah. Oh, that's really when they started going grimdark with stuff.
Yeah, third edition, Black Templars, but obviously I was late to that. But I think I prefer it to the older, newer stuff, definitely.
Yeah, I've mentioned this numerous times on the show. I'd love to see Games Workshop go back and do updated sculpts for the Rogue Trader era Terminators. Like the metal ones that we got, not the prototype armors, but like what became the Terminators we have now. I'd love to see that design aesthetic reincorporated like into 30K with like updated models. I think that'd be really cool.
Saturnine Terminators.
I don't like. I like
good or bad.
I like that they finally made it canonical. But the models themselves, to me, they're cool looking, but I don't want to paint one. They are way too busy. They just don't look fun to paint.
Yeah, I've been waiting years for them. And it wasn't quite what I was hoping for. But
yeah, I'm right there with you. Like it's still to me the original Saturnine armor, the XO armor that they brought out in the 80s. I like it because of the simplicity. Like it's big and chunky and bulky, and that dude ain't running across the battlefield. But I like the simplicity of it. It's actually as cramped as it is to paint. It's fun to paint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think the only Saturnine armor that I like want to try and paint is the captain model.
All right. Yeah.
Not the normal troop model, but the actual captain model. I think that looks really cool.
Yeah.
Just because like when you change out the arms, it gets simpler.
Yeah. I like the Dreadnought. Dreadnought's cool.
God, that thing's huge.
It's massive.
They did a size comparison with a Marine next to them. Like, holy crap, that thing's big.
Yeah, it's huge, man. It's a big Dreadnought. It's probably the biggest one they've done, I think.
Yeah. Like even my buddy Chris, he built one of the Space Wolf Dreadnoughts. Where it doesn't. I don't think it has a casket. It's actual Marine inside of it. But I thought that sucker was huge.
I know the one you mean. Yeah, and, I know the one you mean.
Comparing that to I'm like, how can they? Wow, that the Saturnine Dreadnought's bigger than that. Holy, wow.
Yeah, it's massive. It's almost like getting on for a knight kind of size. It's huge.
So I'll flip the script on you. What do you think of all the new Saturnine stuff? You said it wasn't quite what you pictured, but what do you think of it?
It's cool. It's just not what I was expecting, especially from the older artworks.
Could you picture yourself painting one?
No. Maybe, like you say, the captain or the sergeant guy is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or Praetor or whatever he is. Awesome, but one or two. I tend to like if a set comes out, I tend to like just pick out the minis that I like from it. You know, not standard troop minis, but
yeah,
you know, if there's a character model or something, I'll pick that out and paint that.
Oh, so the nice thing about eBay is like you can just like I don't want to buy a whole box set because I'm never gonna use all of them. So like you can go on eBay and just buy one of what you want to paint.
Buy one, yeah. You're paying more, but you get what you want. So
I'm still sitting over here chomping at the bit to get my hands on the new Logan Grimnar.
Oh yeah,
such a badass model.
Yeah, it's great.
I didn't like the sled.
The sled.
I like how you could take him out, but I just did not like the sled being pulled by the wolves. And now,
weird.
You know, he's standing on top of them rocks, and with the wolves around him, and like he's just the look on him is just like he's showing up. He's like late to a bar fight. He's just like, all right, I'm here. Mm-hmm. Let's do this.
Yeah.
In playing with, or in the vein of the same question I just asked about how do old GW minis compare to new ones, what do you think about 90s heavy metal style, like the Grim Bright stuff, versus like modern heavy metal grimdark painting or box art painting?
Again, you know, the nostalgia. It's the nostalgia for the older stuff. Like that older stuff will always be a big influence. Mm-hmm. The newer stuff's cool. I like the newer styles, but I prefer the older styles. Yeah, the stuff.
Yeah, I've had numerous people tell me, you know, like with the old Grim Bright style of painting, there's kind of a difference there. They've mentioned like with the modern heavy metal style of painting that people try to go for, everything it's just kind of desaturated, and when you have all your troops kind of like on the table, things just kind of blend together, and it's hard to kind of tell which one is which model. Whereas like they said, people told me that with like the old Grim Bright style, like the 90s style, even the 2000 stuff, because everything was so bright, bold, and vivid, you can pick out everything that's on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very distinctive.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell the difference between the special units of like Blood Angels or Space Wolves or Ultramarines, and now it's just kind of like they just kind of and I agree. I've seen photos where it's just like everything kind of looks the same.
Yeah, very samey.
Yeah. The one question I'll ask, and then we'll jump into your Instagram feed, is what advice would you give painters just starting out to help them avoid the pitfalls that you've experienced along the way?
Just get the basics right. Really work on the basics. You know, you're prepping your mini, mold lines, gap filling, you know, your base coat, thin coats, and enjoy it. You know, it's supposed to be fun. It's a hobby. So yeah.
I mean, there's a fine line between the words hobby and cult.
Hobby cult, yeah. But this, you know, you've got access to so much stuff these days. Online, you know, like I said, you know, years ago we had White Dwarf and that was it.
And your local hobby store.
Your local hobby store, you know, you've got so much stuff. There's workshops you can go to. You know, there's advice from your hobby store. There's all stuff online. Just you got to try and absorb as much as you can. Really, take advice from people.
So I've brought up with a couple.
And ask for feedback. Ask for feedback, definitely.
Yeah. No, there's one topic that I brought up with guests a lot is that you know, like you've said this numerous times on the show, you know, all we had back in the day was White Dwarf and, you know, our local hobby store if they had a case to display models in. Yeah. You know, you're lucky if you bump into the guy who is really good and ask him for advice. But, you know, nowadays we have the internet and we have Instagram, we have YouTube, and it's just I'm pretty sure you're on the same boat as I am, but never in a million years when we were young, like teenagers, did we ever think like there'd be this kind of community and gathering of people where you could so easily access not only like tutorials and explanations and stuff like in video format, but also just having the community that like exists like on Instagram. And Instagram is like, I think, the central hub for all this now, because it's a very visual based platform.
That's it. But there's nothing will compare to you asking someone in person for feedback. Yeah. And getting, help that way.
Yeah, especially like if you manage to bump into like a judge at a painting competition that you've had your stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah. But even like, someone who's who you would consider slightly better painter than you are, they're going to have something, they can help you with, advise you on. Yeah. Definitely. But I say, that's why like Golden Demon, stuff like that, where everyone from the community comes together, is even if you're not intending to enter Golden Demon or the contest, just to go along, take a mini with you that you've painted, just get some feedback. Even if you're not entering, you can still do that. And you've got the top guys, Golden Demon guys are there, so it's quite perfect.
One neat thing that I did notice in that, what I mentioned earlier, where that guy over in the UK did the video of all the miniatures in the cases at Golden Demon, it was neat to see just like everyone entering. There was like beginners all the way up to like guys that are well above our pay grade. And it's I know a lot of like guys who are starting out, or who are just they've only got a year or two into the hobby, into painting, like they're scared to enter, or they just don't want to enter. And it's like, no, go enter your stuff. Like,
just do it.
There's all different ranges there. You're going to see guys that, even guys like you and I, you will see the people that paint on the same level as you entering into the competition. And it's fun to bump into those guys, because it's like, oh, hey, cool, we're on the same pay grade. Let's go. Let's go have a beer. But if you bump into like one of the higher up guys that paints, they generally are really cool about sharing knowledge with you.
Yeah. Just don't just ask for feedback.
Yeah. So with that being
inquisitive, basically.
So with all that said, let's jump into your Instagram feed that I have pulled up here. I was actually prepared for this. So going through your feed, I'll just forewarn you, the way the browser in my software works is if I scroll down like further into your minis, like we pull up a picture and I click back or click off it to get back to the thumbnails again, it's going to jump all the way back to the top. It's a little wonky, so I'm actually going to load some of your stuff before we go, so that way it doesn't have to load again. And we'll start with some. Okay, let's start with the typical monopose marine, because this is like kind of a staple. And this, so you did this for Darren Latham's Globe, or for his 90s Marine Challenge.
90s Marine Challenge, yeah. It was Black Talons Marine.
Okay.
Which is from Ultramarine 2nd Edition Codex, I believe.
Okay.
But I chose
it. Is.
I didn't want some. Yeah, there you go. I didn't want something that was, the ordinary Blood Angel Ultramarine. I wanted something different. So the black and the white together is pretty challenging to do. But the way I kind of tried to unify it was the black is highlighted with Dark Reaper, and the white is shaded with Dark Reaper as well.
So very cool.
Brings it together. Yeah. So that kind of, good fun challenge it was.
One thing that stands out on the model to me is I like how you did the reds on it. It's like they're like, it's really like a ruby red.
Yeah, and I tried to introduce the red to the back of the mini as well. So I just did like a
single stripe.
I just put just a stripe on the back.
Yeah.
So there's some red on the back, but
I need to get around to painting one of these. I've got one sitting in my my to-do drawer. It's been there since I started painting again. I was so bummed I missed this too, because this was a couple months before I got back into painting, and this is one of the biggest things that kicked me back into painting was like this whole challenge. I thought this was really cool, where like everybody had the same miniature instead of being an open competition.
Yeah.
Here darts back to the top. Oh, this guy's awesome.
Yeah. Again, no chapter. Just wanted to do a green and yellow shiny Space Marine, basically. Turned out pretty well. Again, to unify it, I did. I can't remember what purple it was. So I shaded there's glazes of purple in the yellow and on the green armor, just to kind of. It's hard to see in the photo, but it kind of helps to unify the paint job, bring it together.
That's actually something I never thought of trying. Is actually using purple and yellow.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to use like black or to shade. You can.
Yeah.
You know, I try and throw another color in there. It just creates a bit of visual interest, you know.
Yeah.
But it's without seeing it in hand, it's hard to pick up in the photo. It's kind of lost.
Now, I commonly shade my yellows down with oranges. I've got for the Gene Stealer cult, I've got a female Magus that I bought January 24th that I still haven't painted, and I got people bugging me to do it. But on her stuff, like I did it when I was younger. I want to shade down the recesses on her, or the cloth. I want to actually try shading it down with brown.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to orange. And like I want to excuse me. I'm fighting because I'm like, I want to do the whole Grim Bright thing, but I want to try shading it with browns to see what I get out of it. Because I used to wash like recess shade my old metal Maguses, like I do the cloaks and stuff in yellow, but I recess shade it with or panel line it with like the old brown ink.
Mm-hmm.
Which I finally found a replacement for. It's Wildwood. I just like your Ultramarine. I think this is really cool. He's super blingy.
Again, nostalgia. Again, obviously based off the classic metal Space Marine captain.
Yeah.
They've recently done a new version of this, a Primaris version, but I did. It's probably one of the only Primaris Marine helmets I've actually painted as well. I love that classic. That's one of my favourite minis. Is that old classic captain, second edition it was. So I just wanted to do like a modern Primaris version of that.
Okay, what's his name? Jess
it's
Goodwin.
kind of
that particular sculpt that you're talking about from second edition. I've got that sculpt. He used the master body for like 5 different Captain Marines. Because I've got the Blood Angel one on my. I've got the Blood Angel one from the Devastators kit, and I've got the Space Wolf one that was a Wolf Guard. And if you put all of them side by side, it's the exact same body. He just sculpted different stuff on top of the pose.
Different stuff on top. Cool. Yeah, I did it. I say back in second edition, I had my first army was Ultramarines. Mm-hmm. Back before they were poster boys, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of again nostalgia coming in. Did it for myself, really, for my 12-year-old self, because I could never have pulled that paint job off when I was 12. So I kind of did it for that. I did a few other Ultramarines I've done as well, a captain and like a chapter champion. I did quite similar. But, yeah.
And
this one was I can't remember how many hours I put into this. It was something like 70 hours, 80 hours or something.
I believe it. No, one thing that stands out about this guy that I like is people always comment because of my Grim Bright painting style, and it applies to this guy too. It's like they always say, "Man, your Space Marines look like they just came out of the car wash." You're damn right they do.
Yeah, but that was a thing, like sort of around 2012, 2013 is shiny Space Marines. Everyone was painting shiny Space Marines. So I know I was a bit late to that. So I got one done eventually. So
I like the reflection that you have coming up onto the armor from the red base.
Yeah, not probably wouldn't happen like that in real life, but it was just a little idea I was playing with. I was saying I was trying to put it's kind of like a secondary. It's reflection from the ground up, isn't it? Basically, so it's just trying to throw a bit more visual interest in there, a bit more color.
No, I think you pulled it off. Like, I really like how subtle it is, but it's still, it's just another really neat thing to look at on the model that you took into consideration while painting it.
Yeah, it's environmental light, basically.
Yeah. I was looking at this before we did the show. Your Farseer or Warlock, whatever. Farseer? Oh, Warlock. Oh, you're in and out again. Can you hear me? Peter?
Oh.
Okay. Are you back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of.
You were flashing in and out there for a second. No, I was looking at this before the show. I really dug this Warlock that you did up. This thing is really cool.
Yeah, just finished that one.
Oh, okay. May 25th.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, just finished that one. I haven't actually. I've got something on the table, but I haven't really. I'm still prepping that mini at the minute.
Okay.
Yeah, this one, I've had this in the box on the shelf for like over a year and a half, 2 years. Loved the mini. I just didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. Then I had this idea of kind of like a ruined base and kind of overgrown jungle kind of environment. But it's basically based off the box art, but I've tried to put my own spin on it.
Oh, there we go. There's a closer shot.
Tried to put more sort of contrast in it and deeper shadows. And again, like with the sword, add a bit of bit more color into it.
Yeah.
And try and do transition from the purple to the red on the thing on his head, whatever it is called.
His ponytail.
Yeah, the ponytail thing.
No, I like the I like the texture that you incorporated in the cloth. That's a neat little detail.
Yeah. Always try and put a bit in there. But again, it's it's so. I mean, the way you see it on the screen is way bigger than it is in real life. So it's it's trying to get texture and stuff in this.
I know there's like red is one of the hardest colors for people to paint most of the time, but just for people who are watching, what formula did you use for the red on his robe?
It was the scale color black, and I think it was the model air. I can't remember what red it is. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Let me have a look. Get it out. It's just model color air red. So that was the base coats for the airbrush. And then I did Mephiston red, but it's all like really thin glazes, layered and layered. And then I think I started adding Wraithbone, a bit like a tiny spot of Wraithbone into the Mephiston red, and just slowly worked up to the highlight.
Okay.
And then I used, again, I glazed some purple in there as well, kind of towards the like the shady areas.
Yeah, the recesses of the cloth.
The recesses in the cloth, yeah. So, well, I'm pretty happy it turned out, because, like you say, red's difficult.
Yeah.
A lot of people find red difficult. I find best with red is just try and keep it fairly simple,
Yeah.
It's easy to over highlight red. Just try and keep it, I was always told black, red, and then very sparingly highlight it.
Yeah.
So
I found with like reds, my method of it, like on my Ulrich Slayer, if I'm doing cloth with red, I'll do the I'll do the base coat. Like I like to use Pyrrole red. It layer glazes really, really well, but I'll actually shade down before I start adding the highlights, like to get it to to get the recesses and the depths, the dark areas to actually transition into the red correctly, and then start working up the highlights, because the highlights are way easier to correct than your shading is.
Yeah. So I mean, I tend to work kind of back and forth. So if it's not light enough, obviously I'll lighten it. If it's not dark enough, I'll darken it. But I don't like do like a linear process where I shade, mid-tone highlight. I kind of go back and forward and make adjustments as I'm going along, sort of thing.
Actually, like that's a kind of an uncommon way to paint, and it's really neat, like doing my tutorials, because I hear people, I get feedback from people saying like, wow, it's really cool to actually see your working process and the way that you paint, because it's so different than the way that I paint. And I think it'd be, with what you just mentioned, it'd actually be kind of cool if you did like kind of a tutorial video or something like that on the way that you would go about painting this red cloth, how you say you kind of bounce around a little bit, just to see, another painter's working process, especially with one that's kind of really unconventional.
Yeah, so I mean, I paint. It's pretty unconventional, I suppose, because I don't really work to formulas. I will just get, a load of reds on the palette, and then just start mixing, working my way through, finding my shade.
Yeah.
Every minute I paint is different, so, and I try not to work to recipes. I'll try and be more, put myself into it, more expressive, I suppose.
Yeah. Let's go digging a little bit. Oh God, this is gorgeous.
The orc.
Yeah.
The big orc. Yeah, that's another recent one. That was one I painted before the Warlock.
Yeah, it says April on the bottom.
Yeah. Just had an idea. Just the orc boss and the little grot. It's kind of I wasn't 100% happy with it, because it's like I didn't really do anything. There was no new techniques. I didn't try anything new with it. It was just basically repeating old techniques. It's true metallic paints, which I don't really use much anymore.
It almost looks like on the Power Claw, it almost looks like you kind of mix metallics with non-metallics.
Yeah, so I put a bit of I can't remember what brown it was. I tried to make it look a bit rusty, but it's it's all metallics. It's all metallics on the actual metal areas. Again, shaded with washes, which I don't really use that much. But I think I enjoyed painting the grot more than the actual walk, to be honest.
Well, those particular gobos, like I'm sure like those are resculpts of old GoRCon gobos.
Yeah.
Like I bought I was in December. I was in my local Warhammer store with my gal, and we were putzing around, and I saw that they brought out a new Runt Herder with Snotling set, and all the Gretchen in there were the resculpts of the original GoRCon models, and I just like flipped. I was like, oh my God, I'm buying this. I'm buying this. I want to paint these.
Yeah, they're great. I do like, actually, the next thing I'm working on is orc related.
Oh, cool.
Again. Yeah, I'm starting to like the orcs again. So it's a killer can.
Oh, okay.
It's a killer can. I did one for Golden Demon like 2014, which turned out really well.
Do you have any of your Golden Demon stuff in your feed?
Yeah. So if you go right to the top, you've got in the middle there.
Oh, the Dreadnought.
Is Fire Angels Dreadnought, which I won gold at Golden Demon 2011.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That was a lot of work.
Oh yeah, it looks like
it's funny. Yeah, it was a hell of a lot of work. Even did like checkers on the back of the banner. That's at Warhammer World.
Oh, they actually had it at Warhammer World for a while?
Yeah. So I don't know if they still do it, but when you won a demon, they used to get invited up to Warhammer World, Nottingham, and you basically spent the whole day there. You got shown around, you'd have lunch bought for you, get to talk to all the winners get invited, so you just get to spend the whole day.
Oh wow!
Chatting to everyone, actually looking at everything. You got the Hall of Miniatures, looking at all the GW stuff.
Oh God, that would be a dream come true. It's like, hey, where's your second edition archive? I don't care anything about anything else. I just want to go to the second edition archive. That's all I want to see.
They've got it all. They've got it all there. They even had the was it Mike McVeigh's Emperor v Horus diorama.
Yeah, they cart that out sometimes. I'll see it like random people's trips at like different times a year. They'll cart it out and put it in the case, and then it disappears for 6 months.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's probably one of my most favourite mini dioramas, and that's how I always picture the Emperor, is in the white armor.
Yeah, No, the neat thing is I like it when people like, and I tend to save the photos, but I like it when people get to go to Warhammer World and they've got second edition stuff out on the shelves, and then they take really high resolution photos of it, so you can see it in like imperfect lighting. You can see really close to it, and it's just like, okay, these aren't as perfect as they were shown in White Dwarf, because they're not perfectly lit and they're not like set at a certain angle. They're like, you can actually see some of the imperfections, and it kind of makes you feel human again.
Yeah.
Well, Kim Seidberg, do you remember the Space Wolves that he did? It was I want to say it was like, I think it was before they went to Fat Dwarf. It was still the smaller White Dwarf. I want to say it was like 94, 95. Anyway, he did these Space Wolves that were like god tier. Like I based a lot of my higher level painting around what he did on those Space Wolves, and I can send you I'll send you the pictures, but
I think that rings a bell. Yeah,
for the longest time,
I remember,
like they looked like absolute perfection. And I got a hold of Kim Seidberg, I think it was like summer of 22, and we talked a little bit, and I was like, hey, do you still have your Space Wolves from back then? He's like, yeah, I've still got a couple. I was like, can you do me a favor and like take some close-up photos with your modern iPhone so I can see what these look like? And he did just that. He actually took 2 photos for me, like close-up of the models, and it was nice seeing that there were imperfections in these things. And it's like, wow, Kim Seidberg is a human being too. And it's not to knock the painter. It's just nice to see that, like, even that god tier level painting, there's still little imperfections here and there that like, of course, don't always get shown. And it helps. No matter what level of painting you're at, it just kind of helps you feel like, okay, this guy actually does mess up. I can actually achieve that level now. It's not this absolute perfect, pristine thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, with Instagram. I don't personally really edit my photos. I might adjust the brightness slightly, stuff like that. But, there's ways of removing mistakes, Not saying that people do that, but I'm sure some people do.
Yeah, I'm sending you those pictures on Instagram right now before I forget.
Oh, cool.
No, I think the only like in my photography, I'll adjust. I'll get rid of the flatness of the image, and I'll if there's hairs on it, I'll Photoshop the hair out. You can see it sticking off the model or sticking off the base. I'll Photoshop that out, but I'll leave all my mistakes and stuff in there. It's like I don't believe in Photoshopping those kind of things out.
Yeah, it's cool. Space Wolves.
What chapter is this guy? Fire Angels. I've never heard of that.
So, right around the time this mini came out, it's Forge World. The Bad Ab War books were released, and I was at the time I was trying to improve my painting of white armor.
I think you nailed it.
White. Well, again, like red, whites can be quite difficult. So I actually did start painting it red because it was going to be Blood Drinkers. Dreadnought. And then that went horribly wrong. So I actually ended up stripping the whole thing. And then
you said Forge World. Is this resin?
Yeah, it's resin, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, you're talking about stripping it. It didn't screw with the resin at all?
No. Luckily not. So, yeah, like I say, I was trying to improve. Well, I got the paint in my white armor to a level that I was pretty happy with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the Bad Ab War books were out at the same time. So, White Scars don't really have dreadnoughts because that was one option. Saw the Bad Ab War, Fire Angels, so just rolled with it.
God, I'd love to see this in person. This thing looks amazing.
But that's old now. That's 2011.
Hey, watch it. That was like our 30s there. I think you were 28 and I was 29 in 2011, so that's pushing in the 30s.
Pushing the 30s, yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, like, to me, like, these, since we grew up with all second edition stuff, to me these models look brand spanking new. It's like, oh, this is new Hammer.
Yeah.
Do you have any more of your Golden Demon? Oh, that's neat. Hang on, that's just snazzy.
So that one was what chapter is it? I can't remember.
And it says Angels of Absolution.
Yeah, there you go. Dark Angel's successor. So that was painted in like 4 hours. That was just like one afternoon. Had some time to kill and just basically just speed painted it and did it pretty quick, to be honest.
For 4 hours, that's damn good.
Yeah, but again, it's, repetition of old techniques that you've done hundreds, thousands probably of times. You can churn stuff out pretty quick.
Yeah, I was telling somebody about that. They were commenting on my Space Wolf, and they're like, God, that would take me like a week to paint. And I told them, like, once to me, like, the hardest part is just figuring out the formulas for what you're doing. And then once you, as you just said, doing it a few hundred times, that formula just becomes, like muscle memory. And you can blaze through it insanely quick. Like with my Blood Angels now, I can breeze through those pretty, like, I probably knock one out in an evening or two.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like, not everything I paint, is like, I'm not always pushing to be like, to make a perfect paint job, perfect mini. Yeah. Like, some of the stuff on here is like painting for fun. Some of it's like, that was great. Great mini. So that was kind of started out as a fun project, and then I thought, this is turning out pretty good. So then put a bit more effort into it towards the end.
With I pulled up your Skaven. I have a real soft spot for Skaven. I really find the models really interesting. Even dating back all the way to like Rogue Trader era. I just Skaven sculpts. They just look cool. Like, they're just such a neat race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this one's quite new. I think it was only released like early this year, maybe last year. Mm-hmm. But me being me, didn't want to do the typical red armor on the Kritok Foul Blade, so I switched it up to yellow. It was going to be green, but then I went for kind of a yellowy goldy color in the end. No,
I think overall I think the yellow gold color choice is a great idea for this. This works really well. It really kind of accentuates. It goes right along with like his skin tones too. And then you have
I tried to make him look old rat.
You got the really cool stark contrast by using blacks and grays for the rest of him, and everything just really balances out. And I like the one little hint of green you've got in there is that stone on the sword.
The stone, the warp stone had to be. Yeah. The base was a bit of an experiment because it was I did it out of like plaster. Mm-hmm. And then like just hacked big chunks of it off to make it look kind of rocky. But the plaster is kind of it reacts a bit funny with the paint because it's kind of porous, so it was a bit difficult to work with. But it's an experiment. So
I'm assuming you primered over the plastic or the plaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, it's been ages since I've done anything with plaster, and I just remember like it just sucks the paint up. Just.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm trying to move away from it because I have used it for years, just to make like rubble and stuff. Just because it looks great, for rubble and stuff like that, and ruins and stuff.
You can make a block of it and just smack it with a hammer, and there's your rubble.
That's exactly what I do.
Yep.
So,
great minds think alike.
Yeah, but like if you buy basing products like gravel and stuff, it tends to be all the same size.
Yeah,
it doesn't look kind of natural. Whether you smack it with a hammer, you get millions of fragments of different sizes you can use. So.
It's where, fortunately, here in Vegas, we have a lot of desert landscaping. So my whole, like, all the front yards in my housing complex, it's all desert landscape. And so, like, all the little rocks and stuff that you see on my bases and on my displays, I just go out in my front yard and just dig through the dirt. Now I've got like a little container now just full of like various sized pebbles and rocks and stuff that I pull out of my front yard. And when I want to do a base and have rock, like rock piles, I just start digging through that with tweezers and pull it out and glue it on.
Yeah. Unlimited supply.
Pretty much. At least it's a $10 bag of rocks I don't have to go buy. This guy was neat. Just caught my attention when we were digging.
Yeah. Again, another chapter.
Hang on, I'll go back to get a wider shot of him. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, Eternity Reapers. This was a chapter that I made up. Wanted to do the kind of reflective silvery kind of armor, and from the back view I put some of the environmental light from like the green moss and grass and stuff.
Yeah, I like that mossy effect you got.
Yeah, that was I think an AK moss product.
Okay.
Works really great. Yeah, and I think it's called Slimy Grime AK. Good for like doing that kind of green sludgy kind of effect on the bases.
Yeah, I've been talking about bases for that Space Wolves display I mentioned earlier in the conversation. Like the last 2 nights at the gym on the treadmill, I tried I'm blind as a bat without my glasses. I'm really nearsighted, so like they have tellies hanging up to with different channels on. Sometimes like I use the third treadmill farthest to the left because it's right in front of the TV where they usually have like racing stuff on. Last couple of nights they haven't had racing stuff on, so I try to get locked into thinking about like projects to work on to pass the 20 odd minutes that I'm on there. And when you get really deep into thought on the treadmill, that 20 minutes goes by like that. But I was thinking about the Space Wolves display, how I want to do it. I wanted to do like a multi-tiered display, but I prefer keeping my miniatures on their bases. So I'm trying to think of like how to do this like display where I was going to strip down some of my old Space Wolves that I painted up in the 2000s, like the Blood Claw, the Blood Claws. I wanted the old captain with the power fist raised and his mohawk thing. Mm-hmm. Trying to think of like how to position them to where I could have him on like the top tier, like almost like a rock coming off, and then like multi-tiered of 4 other Marines going down. But for the life of me, I can't figure out how to do it to make it look like a sloped rock with him still on his slaughter base, and it's been driving me nuts. But it was a great thing to get locked into on that boring 20-minute walk on the treadmill going uphill at 3 miles an hour. So seeing stuff like this, like I've thought about taking them off their slaughter bases, but I'm just like, I just can't do it yet. I don't want to do it. I want to keep my miniatures on the base so that way I can transport them.
Oh. Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like display is painted for display. It's not for gaming. So I mean, everything I paint now is on like a big display plinth.
I was thinking about it last night on the treadmill, and it'd be a good question for you since you have so many miniatures that are just like on display bases like this, as opposed to like slaughter bases. How do you transport your models from, your house to the event? Like, what method do you use?
So, I have a case, and what I do is basically under this display plinth, I mean, you can use magnets, so it's magnetized, and then you magnetize that to your case. I used to use like a big nut and bolt, so I'd have the nut kind of glued into the bottom of the display plinth.
Yeah, I've seen that method. I saw that at LVO.
It's kind of, yeah, but like, you know, when you're in front of the guy you're handing your Mini to, you're kind of there for ages, like unscrewing all these bolts to hand. So it's not. I'm gonna go down the magnet route. I think, you know, neodymium magnets are pretty strong, so you can just magnetize them all on. It's the best way.
Oh, but
people, you know,
that Logan,
people have different ways of doing it.
That Logan Grimnar that I did for Olden Demon, he's actually, his plinth is all wood, and the magnet that I've got on the bottom of his base linking him to the plinth, dude, you can pick Grimnar up and he takes the plinth with him.
Yeah, you want some strong magnets.
But the nut and bolt method, there was painter, he placed first in Golden Demon last year in Europe. He did that orc on the back of the Great White Squig. Mm-hmm. He actually came to Vegas and brought that with him. He's from I think he's from the Czech Republic, and
cool.
I was watching him load his miniatures into his case because he brought like 3 or 4 different miniatures, and he had a case with he used the nut and bolt setup, and I was like, that's a really cool idea, because I mean I don't know if he's taking that on the plane with him or not, but you know it would really, you get a custom panel of metal or wood inside there, and you know a nut and a bolt and a nut or a bolt and a nut, that would lock that sucker in place. Yeah,
I mean it's not going anywhere. It's safe.
Yeah.
Really. It's kind of perfect. Or you know, the magnet thing works pretty well too. But you know, I've seen people just, you know, typical like an army foam, all the foam in there, cutouts, put stuff in like that. But when you've spent, you know,
traditionally 100, like tackle case,
150, 200 hours painting a Mini, you want it to be solid. You don't want it, you know, bits breaking off when you're taking it to a contest or whatever.
Well, no, the reason why I got into thinking about it was like going to Adepticon. I'm like, how the hell am I going to transport all this stuff and like not have it break? And like I have like, it's not tackle box. Well, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like a little organizational case. I used to just the foam from that they used to put in the blister packs. Mm-hmm. I used to just cut that up and set it in the bottom, and that would be, you know, where I'd store my model at. Inside the case, they can't move very much. And lately, I've just been using Tupperware with cotton balls in it for like important models when I need to transport them. But going from you know, hopping on a plane going from Vegas to Milwaukee, it's just like this is going to be this. I'm going to have to figure this one out.
Yeah, hand luggage only.
Yeah, it's
got to be hand luggage.
It's going in a backpack or something. I might put it. My old gig bag that I bought for when we were touring. It's a laptop bag, but I mean it's like super padded, and both like my pedal board, all my cables, and my laptop fit in that backpack perfectly. So I may repurpose that for transporting my models on the plane.
Yeah.
And I know it's hotter than hell in your house right now, so this will be the last one we talk about. I brought this up because it's a Space Wolf. So very cool looking Rune Priest.
So this was from the Leviathan box, the Terminator Captain.
Oh, okay.
And the shield is actually from the old Space Wolf Dreadnought.
Oh, okay.
Which sounds crazy, a Dreadnought shield on a Terminator. But because of the scaling, because of the scale increase of the Terminators again, it doesn't look so out of place now. Mm-hmm. And the head as well is from the Dreadnought kit. So, yeah, it was just a little conversion. The wolf on the top is from, I had a fine cast Jarl Stormcaller that was absolutely full of holes.
Oh, gotta love fine cast.
It was basically, I started filling them and trying to prep it, and I just gave up. It was that bad So the wolf
is that the old Terminator model they made of him that they originally made in metal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the wolf was like hacked off of that, and then a load of green stuff to kind of blend it in.
Yeah.
And a few other bits from Dreadnought kit, but yeah, it's cool.
No, I like the weathering you got going on this Crozius. That looks really cool.
Yeah, a bit of the old verdigris.
Oh, this guy's really neat. So I want to ask for your formula because it's Space Wolf season, for your Space Wolf's armor in this. What colors did you use for that, or do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
If I'm being honest. They don't typically paint Space Wolf, so it was kind of just mixed a load of stuff until it looked kind of what I was looking for, you know.
Okay. Yeah, this is a really cool piece. Like, again, you know, I love Space Wolves, so it's like, yeah, we're going to talk about a Space Wolf.
Yeah,
so you can go cool down. We'll just switch back over to the normal screen. I can't talk. To end the show with, I normally ask people if there's any shout outs they want to give. And is there anybody that you'd like to give shout outs to? You don't have to name 300 people. It can just be 2.
My brother. For getting me into the hobby.
Is he still into it?
Who else? Yeah, he still does it, man. He's got the biggest grey pile of shame you've ever seen. But he's still in the hobby.
Okay.
Who else do I shout out? Will Davies, Ricky Upjohn. Should probably shout my wife out for putting up with my hours of being locked in a little room painting models. That's about it.
Okay. What I'll do is at the end of the show, if any of these people have an Instagram when I'm editing, I'll pull the names and send them to you. If you can find their Instagrams, I'll put it in the information for the video down below.
Okay, cool.
And we'll go from there. But thank you, Peter. Thank you for taking the time out to come on the show. I really appreciate it. It was good talking to you. And we'll chat a little bit after the show. But I'm going to switch over to the ending screen. For anybody watching, here's a couple more videos, and I can finally say that my Space Wolves tutorial will be in this screen instead of the Blood Angels one. But until the next show, I'll talk to you guys in a bit.